See, that's why I love traveling, because you get to see wild and crazy stuff like that on the road.
Well, I climbed the 7 summits and I swam the 7 seas, but the road I must travel, its end I cannot see. Well, I fought in the jungles and I fought in the streets, but the road I must travel, its end I cannot see. Well, once I had a reason, don't know what it could be, and the road I must travel, its end I cannot see. Well, I sang to myself that I want to be free, but the road I must travel, its end I cannot see. I walked the empty desert and was burned in the heat, but the road I must travel, its end I cannot see. Well, I crossed the frozen wasteland in the bitter cold did freeze, and the road I must travel.
So back to this guy. This guy's got a cabin on the back of his truck. For a second, I thought this was Tim from Truck House Life, but it's a clone, no doubt inspired by Tim. This guy's out here living his best life, rolling down the road with his windows down, shirt off, sunglasses, just cruising along. I feel like the Eagles wrote Take It Easy about him.
They shot a man in Soho, couldn't guess his age. I found his empty journal, I filled up every page. I called up my state senator, they said he wasn't there. The secretary took my name, and man, she sounded scared, so I counted my mistakes.
Then I come across a legit storm chaser rig, federal plates, and an exo frame for mounting all kinds of weather equipment. This was a cool rig.
They questioned all my friends, they hoped that they could find my ass before I struck again.
My first thought was, is he going to a storm? And should I be going in the same direction that he's going in? I couldn't help but think of the movie Twister.
Cow. I gotta go, Julia. We got cows.
Cannot see, and so tonight I walk in anger with worn shoes on my feet, and the road I'm
So when your friend says, hey, let's go to Expo West, and then you think, well, sure, no problem. Let's do Expo West. And then let's go do the Canyonlands. Then you end up with this trip. So that's what this trip's for, with the pinnacle being the Canyonlands, and maybe a couple of trails afterwards, but we're going to hit Expo West first. So that meant traveling all the way across the country. So we left at different times at different locations around the country, and we sort of leapfrogged our way to Expo. My first stop was Santa Rosa State Park. I ended up working here for a couple of days before I was officially on vacation. What a great little state park in New Mexico. Campsite right down the trail from a lake. And it also provided me with an opportunity to deploy my full 800 watts of solar power. From Santa Rosa, New Mexico, it was about another half-day drive to Flagstaff, Arizona, where they host Overland Expo West. Expo West is probably about 2 to 3 times larger than Expo East, and it is the oldest running event of the entire series. In fact, this year was the 15th anniversary of Overland Expo West, so that was another reason why I wanted to at least stop by, see if they were going to do anything special, and then move on. But the biggest thing that I wanted to do was test drive an Ineos Grenadier. I had seen them at last year's expo, but it was really just sitting in them, looking at them, not driving them. So this year, I made a beeline over to the Ineos booth and signed up for one of their earlier drives the following morning at 9 a.m. I wanted to see what the hype was all about, and I wanted to try and realistically compare it to my old Jeep Rubicon, my old Wrangler Jeep Rubicon. That was, in my opinion, the pinnacle of an off-road machine, and I really wanted to see what this could do. But first, I was told that we had to take a breathalyzer test. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. We had to take a breathalyzer test because in the past, they've had problems. I can only imagine somebody that partied a little too hard the night before. So then it was finally my turn to drive. Just myself and an instructor in the Grenadier. Did 2 laps around the course, and I loved it. One of the things that I noticed was it was extremely, extremely quiet. No creaks, no squeaks, no nothing along the way. Extremely powerful. That BMW engine, it was certainly fits the truck. Afterwards, I got out and talked to the engineer a little bit, and he pointed out some things, structurally speaking, that certainly make me understand why it's so expensive. As for the rest of Expo, it was really just all the same. If you've been to one, just this on a bigger scale. All the custom-built rigs, probably the best part. Just the ginormous things that you see rolling around. Got to see my first Cybertruck in person, then pretended like it cut my finger off like everybody else does. And then it was basically time to pack up and head out. So we left a day early. So Sunday morning at Expo, we packed up bright and early in the morning because we wanted to hit the road and head north toward Moab. We were going to stop in between Moab and Flagstaff at Goosenecks State Park, which is a very hidden gem that not a lot of people know about. So we packed up and hit the road. So if you've never been to Overland Expo West, but you have been to Overland Expo East, you can see the difference here, at least from the area where you camp. You can see here you really camp within all of the trees, sort of in the natural area, just kind of open and dispersed camping. But they do kind of pack you in there, you know, based off of the crowds. Quite a bit different from Overland Expo East, where you're essentially parked in a field right on top of each other. So one of the reasons why I wanted to leave Expo early was to kind of beat the crowd a little bit. There's a common practice of people leaving Expo and heading up to Moab to run all kinds of off-road trails. And, you know, let's be honest, there's 15,000 people at Overland Expo West, and that makes, you know, trails a little bit more crowded in Moab. So we wanted to head up there as fast as we could, but first we're stopping at Goosenecks State Park. Not only does it break the trip in half, it's, like I mentioned earlier, it's a little known gem. And one of the things about this park is there's one campsite in particular, maybe two, that you can set up right on the edge of the cliff, right at the bend in the meander of the gooseneck, looking directly at the gooseneck itself. So it's sort of the prime spot. I wanted to try and get up here and try and grab it early because it's first come, first serve. It is $10 at the gate per night per campsite. It's you either pay the ranger or you pay at the little fee tube, self-serve envelopes, things like that. So we rolled in. I wasn't sure, you know, what we could get, so I just told them we were going to stay there either way. Grabbed our passes, and then I beelined it down to the spot where I had camped here previous. And what do you know? It was open. So I was pretty excited. Rolled up there, made sure that was the right spot. They have a little fire pit there, and we decided to set up shop.
This is it?
This is my site, yeah. Like, it gets the whole horseshoe.
Okay.
I would say that we either park this way or we can back in if you want.
Let's back in.
Okay, and then it's not too far from the bathroom.
You back in for, want me to tell you how far you want to go?
I'm not getting that close. I'm going to kind of put on the far side of the fire pit.
Okay.
Just kind of back up to a little bit.
Okay.
Even with all the technology and cameras and everything that's rear facing so that, you can look backwards and back up with accuracy, it's still a little nerve-wracking to back up to the edge of a cliff. But you'll see why in just a second, why this campsite is in my top 10 of all time. The next morning, we were up pretty early because we wanted to get on the road again and head to Moab. If you've never been to Moab, it's basically the hub for all off-roading in Utah, and it's pretty much the only services in terms of food, fuel, and hotels, campgrounds, everything. It's all in Moab. So at this point, we're just setting map coordinates, things like that, planning the route. I'm talking to Patrick on the radio, and I'm basically letting him know that hey, I've got the trash from our campsite last night and probably from the night before. I'm just going to swing on up here by the dumpster, the trash can, stop, and throw it away on the way out. By the way, this state park, even though it is a sort of a hidden gem, it is fairly busy. So, even on a weekday like this, you had all kinds of campers and cars, and there's tons of campsites all the way around the rim of the canyon. So any passenger car really could head most of the way out. Way beyond the normal campsites, it gets a little bit rockier, and that's where your jeeps and your off-road trailers and things like that. We could have gone much further out, but right next to the entrance, and you saw the view from the campsite. So just to kind of preface the upcoming funny situation here. So, you know, Patrick and I's rigs get a lot of attention, and I call it paparazzi. So you'll see as I pull up here and I stop to throw the garbage out, the two ladies that are walking toward me, of course, stop and want to ask all kinds of questions about the rigs, and they want to take pictures, and just one of them's a Toyota fan, one of them's a Ford fan, so I hop out and take pictures. You know, it's something that happens at campgrounds when you have a crazy looking rig. But you can see, you know, they're stopping, wanting to chat for a while. We're trying to get on the road and, you know, trying to be nice. And Patrick took the time to seize the opportunity and after what was probably the quickest and most beautiful 4-hour drive between Gooseneck and Moab, we ended up rolling into Moab where we both needed some fuel. Because essentially Moab is it. Anywhere you want to run trails and around the Canyonlands or Moab area, you better have enough fuel or fuel and jerry cans to take with you out on the trail, because otherwise you're coming all the way back to Moab to get fuel. So you'll see in parts 2 and 3 of this series that we managed to get passes or permits for White Rim Trail. And it's one of the things that we'll focus on. So you'll see a little bit more off-roading in the next 2 parts of the series. But for now, it was fuel time, and it was restock the fridge time. So from fuel, we traveled just down the road a bit to pretty much the main grocery store in Moab. Grabbed all the supplies, filled the fridges and the freezers, and then did some laundry. And that's pretty much where we're going to wrap up this video. Next time on the Southwest Expedition.